Swamp Talk, brought to you by American Oathbreakers.
Hi, welcome to this edition of Swamp Talk. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Kelly.
This is the podcast where we are calling out what the swamp creatures have been doing in D.C. this past week.
We're going to be talking about what's going on in the swamp, from Trump to Como to cancel culture, the media, censorship, and of course, Biden's pro-China stance.
And speaking of censorship, we are up against big tech and big media. We would really appreciate it if you would just like and share. We are trying to spread the word about the corruption in D.C., and we could really use your help.
And you can find our videos at www.americanoathbreakers.com, Facebook, and YouTube.
And if you want to donate to our cause, you can donate to us at paypal.me//Swamp Talk.
So, speaking of censorship by big tech and media, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the media today.
Yeah, there's something that we really need to talk about with the media. They are not who they are proposing to be. They're not telling us who they are. So I've written something, a little something, because it's important that we give you the right points. And so here we go. So there's so much of the news these days, that our head is spinning, and that's the truth. There are so many things that are going on that we don't know what to cover, because it's just literally so much. Am I right?
Yeah, my head gets just overloaded by the amount of things that really need to be put out there and need to be talked about, that especially aren't talked about on the mainstream media.
Yeah. So every hot button that the Democrats have had in the past several years, Biden is on that, and it's anything that's been serviced in the last decades. He's pushing that right now, and he's putting that into play. Joe and our free press. Our free press is not honest anymore. They're not telling us what he's doing. So we're in a time now where we are truly looking at failures across our entire system.
It's a breakdown. It's a breakdown of the system, basically.
It's our judicial system, our congressional system, and our so-called free press. America, as we have known it, is failing, and the media is not saying a word about it. It is their job to bring forth the corruption of our public officials and to let us know that our enemies overseas what they are up to. They are complicit with stifling free speech, demoralizing our cops. They're condoning the billions in damages done to our cities by BLM and Antifa over the summer of 2020, and they are okay with the outright lies coming out of the executive branch. When I say our free press, I say it with the idea of what it used to be.
Well, recent polling has shown that if the press had been doing their job and actually reported on the investigations in Joe Biden's family, that 1 out of 6 people that voted for Biden actually would not have voted for Biden.
So do you remember that meme that went around that said that there were only 6 media companies?
I do recall that.
Did you believe that?
It was kind of unbelievable to me because there are so many different news stations out there.
Well, I thought the same thing, so I had to investigate. So I found out there was this media monopoly book by Ben Bagdakan.
Yes.
And he was an author, journalist, and a professor. And he found out that, in his book, he says that in the 1980s, there were over 400,000 media companies.
Wow.
Only 1% of those media companies had 87% of all sales at that time. Then in 1993, it went down to, out of that 1% that had all this, the 90% of the sales, that 1% became 50 companies that had all the sales.
Wow.
Now, starting in the year 2011, after some acquisitions, it reduced from 50 to 6.
So they basically just took their power and just bought out everything.
They bought everything.
Wow.
And they control all of it. So think about how many media companies out there, CNN, Time Warner, NBC, ABC, I would say in Disney, but they're one of the major corporations. So they took up Pixar. I mean, just everything.
But what are the 6 companies?
So the 6 companies, let me make sure I get this right. The 6 companies are Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, CBS, News Corp, and Comcast.
And they own all
They
those
own everything.
news channels like 60 Minutes,
They do.
Time, ABC.
BET, CMT, CNN, HBO,
Everything.
Time, ABC, ESPN, MTV, Paramount Pictures, Marvel Studios,
Wow.
NFL.com, Jeopardy. I mean,
just go down.
Showtime. It just, yeah.
Well, that's not all
Fox,
news,
Wall
but
Street
but
Journal, the New York Post. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, but not all that's news, but they do own all the news channels.
But they own all the news channels. They own all the channels, and all those channels have news on them.
Don't you think that one of them would want to be the different guy?
So what it is this. A lot of these media corporations, these 6 media corporations, they all have ties with China and the CCP party. They all have ties with them, whether it's people on their boards that have business ties with China. And the thing about China is that when you have business dealings with them, you are not allowed to say anything negative about them at all, because they have some type of hold on these companies, and they literally have them.
Well, there's a lot of financial gain for these companies too, and even the journalists as well. I mean, they get flown to these dinners, elaborate dinners and these parties, and it's just all black tie,
And they're treated like gold,
like royalty.
So they have a vested interest in keeping the CCP propaganda on the positive side. Did you know that Jeff Bezos in his Washington Post, if you get a paper subscription, they include the CCP propaganda paper?
No, I did not know that. I
They
was not
do.
aware of that.
Yes, they do.
That's,
It comes with the Washington Post. So Jeff Bezos, he has a big tie into all of this
well,
as well. I mean, they all do. I mean,
They
he's
do.
part of the Washington Post. So
we could do a whole show alone on Jeff Bezos and his ties.
We can. I guess the point is really that China has infiltrated our mass media. Each of these companies are beholden to the Chinese Communist Party because of their business interests. That's the bottom line. And that is why we are being fed literally propaganda by the mainstream media.
And not getting the real news that we should be getting, that we, to keep America informed of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So for those of you old enough to remember, up until the 90s, our free press called the narrative that China's our enemy and they have territorial ambitions, which we see today with Taiwan and Hong Kong. The Chinese murder their own people. Do you remember Tiananmen Square? 2 million college students were literally massacred by the Chinese government. These were college students who were calling for democracy, free speech, and free press in China. They murdered them all. And that right there should tell you all about China and put them into perspective for you.
And tell you that what's going on with our news. If these people were murdered over demanding free press and anti-propaganda information,
That's not something the Chinese want.
Right.
They want to control the narrative. That's who they are. And if you don't know this about them, I will be bringing this to light in future podcasts. But, they don't report about the terrible Muslim slave camps. And they don't talk about the media siding with Antifa and BLM, these groups that are terrorizing America. So our media is not reporting on anything about any of this. So why is the news still anti-Trump? It's anti-pro-American. It's our news media hates America.
Well, thank you all for joining us and listening to this, and we hope you found some valuable information in this. And again, please share any videos that we have. You can find them at www.oathbreakers.com, Facebook, and YouTube.